He said it without thinking about how it would sound. He said it raw, he said it angry, and he said it in a way that NASCAR has not heard in years. Tony Stewart looked at the camera, and instead of giving the safe tribute everyone expected, he turned around and pointed the finger at the fans, at the media, and at the entire NASCAR community. And what he said next is the reason this moment is still being talked about today. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why Tony Stewart is this angry, and why so many people inside the garage are quietly agreeing with every word he said. Before we go further, if you are someone who actually wants the real story behind NASCAR's biggest moments, not just the highlight reels, this channel is for you. We are NASCAR Report today, and we are trying to reach 15,000 subscribers so we can keep bringing you these deep, honest breakdowns of what is really happening in this sport. If this video means something to you, hit that subscribe button right now, because what you are about to hear is not the version of this story that most people have heard. On May 21st, the racing world was hit with news nobody saw coming. Kyle Busch, a two-time Cup Series champion, one of the most talented and most talked about drivers in NASCAR history, passed away at the age of 41. The Busch family later confirmed that severe pneumonia had progressed into sepsis, and the complications moved fast, faster than anyone could process. One moment, Kyle Busch was a driver fans argued about every single week. The next moment, he was gone, and an entire sport was left in shock. Tributes poured in almost immediately. Drivers, team owners, broadcasters, rivals, even people who had clashed with Kyle over the years posted statements honoring him. And one of those statements came from Tony Stewart, someone who knew Kyle not just as a competitor, but as a former teammate at Joe Gibbs Racing. Now here is where it gets interesting, because Stewart did not write some polished, generic tribute. He wrote something honest. He said Kyle was strong-willed, confident, and did not mince words. He said early on, the two of them did not always see eye to eye. But then in 2008, Kyle became his teammate, and Stewart said something that a lot of people missed the first time they read it. He said Kyle was a great teammate, that he pushed Stewart to be better, and that the two of them always respected each other. That single sentence, "he was a great teammate," is the door that opens into everything Stewart said next. Stewart wrote that whether fans were watching Kyle win, or watching someone else try to beat him, people watched. He said even the people who claimed to hate Kyle would miss him, and that in the coming weeks, people would finally learn who Kyle really was, as a person, as a husband, and as a father to his sons Brexton and Lennox. That part alone would have been enough for most people. A heartfelt tribute, a respectful goodbye, the kind of statement that gets shared and then quietly fades. But Tony Stewart was not finished. And what he said after that statement is what turned this into one of the most talked about reactions in the entire NASCAR community. Because Stewart did not stop at grief. He went somewhere most people are too careful to go. In a separate comment, Stewart let his frustration out completely. He said the thing that angered him most about this entire tragedy was watching everyone suddenly want to talk about who Kyle was as a person, after years of only judging him by what they saw on television. He said that is the way every one of them gets judged, by clips, by soundbites, by the worst 5 seconds of a bad day. And then, once someone dies, suddenly everyone wants to talk about how good a person they were. Stewart said that part is what makes him the angriest. He went even further. He said people should have taken the time to learn who Kyle actually was while he was still here, instead of waiting until after his death to care. He said he already knew exactly who Kyle Busch was, and that the people rushing to learn about him now are really just admitting they never gave him a real chance before. Read that again, because that is not a soft tribute. That is grief with an edge to it. That is someone who is not just mourning a friend, he is calling out an entire culture. And to understand why this hits so hard, you have to understand who Kyle Busch actually was inside the sport, not just the version that showed up in angry post-race interviews. Kyle Busch was polarizing. Nobody is pretending otherwise, not even Stewart. Fans either loved him or could not stand him. He was blunt, he was emotional, he said things in victory lane and in defeat that made headlines for the wrong reasons. He built a reputation as the villain, the guy you love to hate, the driver whose name alone could split a comment section in half. But inside the garage, a different picture existed. Drivers who raced against him for years described someone who understood the sport at a level very few people ever reach. A driver who, even in his frustration, was almost always thinking 2 steps ahead. A teammate who pushed the people around him to get better, even if his methods were not gentle. That is the gap Tony Stewart was talking about. The gap between the character fans saw on a screen, and the actual human being living behind that character. And here is something that makes Stewart's comments even more powerful. He is not some outsider throwing stones. Tony Stewart lived through the exact same thing. For years, Stewart was known as Smoke, the hothead, the guy with a temper that could explode at any moment. He had his own angry interviews, his own controversies, his own moments where fans either defended him fiercely or wanted him gone from the sport entirely. Stewart knows, better than almost anyone, what it feels like to be reduced to a character. To have years of work, sacrifice, and personality boiled down into a handful of angry clips that get replayed forever. So when Stewart says people judge drivers only by what they see on TV, he is not guessing. He lived it. And that is exactly why his words about Kyle Busch carry so much weight. This is one driver who knows the cost of that judgment, speaking up for another driver who can no longer speak for himself. Now here is where this story takes a turn that a lot of people did not expect. While all of this was happening, Tony Stewart himself was not sitting at home, retired, watching from a distance. He is still competing, just in a different world. Stewart has been racing in NHRA Top Fuel drag racing, one of the most intense and dangerous forms of motorsport that exists. At the time of these comments, Stewart was sitting 5th in the 2026 NHRA Top Fuel standings with 458 points, right behind names like Sean Langdon, Doug Kalitta, Leah Pruitt, and Josh Hart. This is not a retired legend doing victory laps for nostalgia. This is someone still strapping into a car that can hit incredible speeds in seconds, still feeling pressure, still living inside the racer mindset every single weekend. And Leah Pruitt, who is part of Stewart's own racing operation, has also been having a strong year, sitting 3rd in points and picking up her first win since 2023 at a delayed event in New England, along with a number 1 qualifying run at another major weekend. Why does this matter to the Kyle Busch story? Because it shows you exactly where Tony Stewart's head was when he made these comments. He was not speaking as someone removed from danger, looking back from a safe distance. He was speaking as someone who is still around risk every single week, someone who understands better than most how quickly everything can change. Kyle Busch did not die in a crash. He did not die doing something reckless on a racetrack. He died from an illness that moved fast and gave almost no warning. For people inside motorsport, that is its own kind of terrifying, because they train their entire lives to manage the danger they can see. The danger that comes from nowhere is the one that shakes everyone the most. That is part of why Stewart's words landed the way they did. This was not just sadness. It was the kind of anger that comes from someone realizing how fast everything can be taken away, and how much time gets wasted on judgment instead of understanding. So let's step back for a second, because there is a bigger picture here that goes beyond just one driver. NASCAR has always needed personalities, not just fast drivers, but people who create emotion. Dale Earnhardt did it. Tony Stewart did it. Kyle Busch did it. These are the drivers fans love to argue about, the ones who get booed in one race and cheered in the next, the ones who make you want to watch just to see what happens. But there is a pattern that keeps repeating. While these drivers are active, fans focus on the controversy, the radio rants, the aggressive moves, the post-race blow-ups. And then, when something happens to that driver, suddenly the conversation flips completely. Suddenly everyone wants to talk about the family man, the mentor, the person who quietly helped young drivers behind the scenes. Tony Stewart's point is simple, but it cuts deep. Why does it take a tragedy for people to see the full picture? Why is the angry side of a driver treated as the whole truth while they are alive, but suddenly becomes just one small part of the story the moment they are gone? It is a question that does not just apply to Kyle Busch. It applies to how fans treat almost every polarizing figure in this sport, and honestly, in most sports. And maybe that is the real reason Stewart's comments have stuck with so many people. Because deep down, a lot of fans recognize themselves in what he is describing. The instinct to judge quickly, to reduce a person to their worst moments, and to only soften that judgment once it is too late for it to matter to that person anymore. Kyle Busch was not a perfect person, and nobody, including Tony Stewart, is trying to claim that he was. He made enemies. He said things that hurt people. He had a reputation that he, at times, leaned into. But none of that was the full story, and it never was. He was also a champion. A husband to his wife Samantha. A father to Brexton and Lennox. A brother to Kurt. A teammate who, according to people who actually worked alongside him, pushed others to raise their level. A driver who, love him or hate him, made you want to keep watching. Tony Stewart's statement said it best. Whether fans were watching to see Kyle win, or watching to see someone finally beat him, they watched. That is the definition of a star. Not everyone gets remembered for moving the needle that much. Kyle Busch did, every single week, for over 2 decades. And now, with Stewart's comments going viral across the NASCAR community, a real conversation has started. About how fans treat controversial drivers. About how quickly people are to judge based on a few seconds of footage. And about what it really means to know someone, versus simply knowing the version of them that gets clipped and shared online. Tony Stewart did not give the easy tribute, he gave the honest one. And in doing that, he challenged every single person watching to think about the next driver who says the wrong thing, who races too hard, who gets booed for being real instead of polished. Maybe the lesson here is simple. You do not have to like everything about a driver. You can disagree with their moves, criticize their attitude, even boo them from the stands. But do not mistake the character you see on a screen for the entire human being living behind it. Kyle Busch deserved that understanding while he was here, and Tony Stewart made sure the NASCAR world knew exactly how he felt about the fact that, for too many people, it came too late. If this video gave you a deeper look at a story you thought you already knew, that is exactly what we aim to do here at NASCAR Report today. We dig past the headlines and bring you the context that actually matters. If you want more breakdowns like this one, hit subscribe, because we are working hard to reach that 15,000 subscriber goal, and every single one of you helps us get there and keep this channel growing. Let us know in the comments what you think. Was Tony Stewart right to call out the way fans and the media treat polarizing drivers, or do you think this is just how every sport processes loss? Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.